Maybe it would use the A button in some way. Oh hey, didn't see you there. I was busy thinking about what the perfect video game would look like. The current sticking points that I have right now is that it has to be fun, interesting, challenging, not bland, not bad. It has to be able to do the dishes, reassure me when I'm feeling sad, tuck me into bed at night, pleasure me orally.
Oh boy, I do love video games, but I assure you, only the good ones. Yeah, that doesn't really narrow it down, does it? And that's the problem. Most people, when recommending a game, will usually either tell you something like, it's good, or even, it's really good. But you never hear anyone call a game perfect. And this is a topic I find fascinating. And the game that ended up sparking my interest in this topic was Celeste. I needed just a little bit of footage from this game for one of my recent videos. And after I got that footage, I replayed the entire game. And it was like, worryingly flawless.
But this left me confused because supposedly nothing in life is perfect. Well, except maybe like Kroger's. But don't you worry, because I looked and I scrounged and I found some reasons why Celeste may indeed not be a perfect video game. But the one issue is, all of these reasons are contained within really brain-dead negative reviews of the game on Steam. But don't worry, I took Dipshit 1 in high school. I should be able to translate these pretty well.
If it wasn't obvious enough, I'm going to be grabbing some negative reviews of the game to better explain why Celeste is as good as it is. I'll be using these reviews as sort of a catalyst for my own takes, and even though I will be saying why each and every one of them is dumb, stupid, and idiotic, that doesn't mean you can go firebomb their house. Capiche? I am normally a fan of platforming games, but most of the platforming is heavily centered around the dashing mechanic, which feels awkward to perform, and is difficult to precisely aim, and it can get boring to dash from platform to platform. Before I tear this dude apart, I want to mention that at the end of his review, he acknowledges that the game just isn't for him, and I applaud him for that. Having enough self-awareness to know when something just isn't for you on the internet is rare. Like cooking your steak for 2 seconds with a Bic lighter rare.
Oh wait, this is hamburger.
And that officially makes it the best review on this list. Here's a gold star.
Alright, with that small compliment out of the way, let's bully this man.
Normally a fan of platformers, and then says, the gameplay is very repetitive. Oh yeah, platformers, those games that are all about running and jumping 99% of the time, and that's it. I think if this dude ever played the original Mario Bros, he'd fall asleep after 1-2. 2D platformers are often not very complicated when it comes to what the player themselves can do. You will usually have like a run, a jump, and maybe like one other movement ability. Examples being your New Super Mario Bros. And your Donkey Kong Countries. And that simplicity is usually a selling point. I mean, seriously, anyone that's never even played a video game before can pick up a 2D Mario game and know what's going on. You're this guy, and you go to the right. In Celeste, you have a run, a jump, a dash, a grab, and that's basically it for most of the game, which is already more than the previous examples in terms of the character's complexity, but it almost never grows from there. You're forced to go into every challenge with only these tools at your disposal. You never get any power-ups in the traditional sense, and to me, this is a plus. You can never make things easier by taking something from one level and using it in another where it was never meant to be used. You have to size up every single room in this game with the same moveset almost every single time, which that sounds like it would get boring after a while, but it doesn't, and I'll explain why later. The main focused on mechanic in this game is the dash, which he says feels awkward to perform precisely, and I actually think a lot of people would agree with this. But unless you're playing with a controller that drifts at all, then guess what? The ability to input your dashes in the correct direction is entirely on you! Side note, a lot of the negative reviews were talking about how you need a controller to play this game, and how it feels terrible to play with a keyboard and mouse. Which yeah, that makes sense. It's a 2D platformer. Every 2D platformer famously feels terrible when played with a keyboard and mouse. But it isn't like that's the game's fault. I don't know, maybe these people just hate the left stick. Speaking of which, a lot of the time it can feel like you've inputted your dash in the correct direction, only for Madeline to dash right when you actually meant for her to dash upright, or down right, or down or left or wherever. This happens a lot, okay? But that is indeed a fuck up on your end because you didn't do the input right, Which leads me into my next point. It's too hard. Don't buy it. Some levels are on the verge of unfair.
Okay, just don't say get good. Do not tell them to get good. Do not say get good. Don't say get good. Get good. Fuck!
Celeste is a hard game. Like a very hard game. Like a very, very, very hard game. Like a very, 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 very... In fact, Celeste's Farewell, which is the final level that got added in the DLC, took me over 9 hours to beat, killed me over 4,000 times, and is the hardest thing I've ever done in any game ever. Now, I'd like to think that I'm a pretty reasonable level of gamer. I've beaten most of the Pantheons in Hollow Knight, gotten the true ending in Nine Souls, scored literally infinite points in Balatro, and suffered through at least 10 whole minutes of New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe.
Yeah, the gameplay of this isn't really that hard. It's just whenever I play it, my body reflexively starts internally bleeding.
But none of those even come anywhere close to this. I know, because as soon as I beat Farewell, I felt the need to update my fucking CV. The rest of the game, well, Jesus Christ, not that hard, is still very, very difficult. But never once is it unfair, and that's a very rare thing in video games. Most rooms are contained within a singular screen. What you need to do to get across is easily discernible, and unlike other games like Hotline Miami and Limbo, where you're also expected to die a lot, it never felt like the game was forcing me to learn through death. Also, the deaths are very fast. You respawn in 2 seconds, and this helps alleviate the frustration of you dying over and over and over again, because before you can get mad, you have control of the character and you're back in the level again. And the level design is what makes this game so hard and so good. That didn't sound like a sex thing when I wrote it. I shit you not, I could not find a single legitimate flaw with Celeste's level design anywhere. And I was really looking. And even though I did look up how to beat some rooms very, very late into the game, I only did that to make sure I was doing them in the correct way, which I was every single time. The rooms were just really hard. Again, this wasn't a sex thing when I wrote it. And going back to what I said about complexity, Madeline's moveset might seem complicated at first, but compared to what the levels throw at you, that's nothing. You have platforms that launch you, space blocks that you can dash through, clouds that disappear, wind, rhythm blocks, and even Big Jim. And you know he's Big Jim because he sounds like this. And if you want some pro gamer advice, do every optional room that you come across, so your knowledge of the game depthens more and more, faster and faster. That was the mistake that I made when I played through this game for the first time back in 2018. I would just rush to the end of the level without getting any of the strawberries, because I saw a tip that said they weren't necessary to beat the game. And the game ended up being a lot harder and a lot less fun, because doing the side content, along with it just being fun, makes you better at doing the main path. Also, it's just really fulfilling to do a side room on your first try. Whenever I did, I would do a little fist bump and compliment myself.
Yes! You know, dude, you have eyes.
However, when your game has high difficulty and death more certain than a politician being a terrible person, the levels don't tend to lend themselves very much to experimentation, which I'm fine with. Personally, I find discovering the correct way to progress through a room and then actually cracking off the precise button inputs to clear the stage very rewarding. Some games you're expected to experiment and others you aren't, but I'd rather have a game be one or the other and not be somewhere in the middle. But don't buy a game that's tagged with precision platformer and difficult and get mad when the precision platforming gets difficult. Again, that's like getting mad at a politician when it's revealed they're a terrible person.
Why yes, I too wonder if I'm foreshadowing anything with that joke.
The visual design is quite mediocre. Dead Cells, Hollow Knight, and Blasphemous are just much better games. Now, as the resident Team Cherry bootlicker,
why yes, I will be carving that quote into my gravestone.
Why the fuck are you comparing Celeste to Hollow Knight? For some reason, these two games get grouped together a lot. If you go onto Hollow Knight's negative review page, you will see people complaining it's not enough like Celeste. They're in different genres. They aren't trying to be the same thing. Celeste isn't even a Metroidvania like the other games this person has listed. I think comparing games from different genres can be fun, but you have to compare very general things like sound design, music, visual design. Wait, did this motherfucker say that the visual design was mediocre? Okay, now I'm not even sure if me and this guy played the same game. So to prove my point, I'm gonna put the edit that I do for almost every single one of my videos right here. You know the reason why when anyone mentions the fact that pixel art can look good, they show Celeste footage? Because the game looks really good. You could take a screenshot of basically anywhere in Celeste, put it as your background, and most people would compliment you for it. Hey, what do you think of my new desktop wallpaper?
Wow, man, you have eyes.
And that's not to say that all the games that this dude mentioned look bad. Dead Cells has this cool 3D pixel art thing going on. Blasphemous makes me feel a whole lot of Catholic guilt, and I could glaze Hollow Knight's art style all day. Hence the previous bootlicker related statement. But if I had to pit all four of these games' art styles against each other, I would say that Celeste takes the cake most days of the week. Again, look at anyone saying pixel art can look good, and usually this is the game that they show as an example.
Well, that seems to be all the negative reviews I got. Yeah, if you were wondering how long a straight white guy could put off talking about how this game didn't always feature a trans protagonist in a video talking about negative reviews of the game Celeste, it'd be about this long.
Trans game.
Found out this was some liberal trash game.
Unfortunately, this is woke BS.
This game was good until I found out the main character is trans.
Gay and lame. Okay, context. The story of Celeste is about accepting oneself. The underlying symbolism is about how every step towards bettering your mental health is significant, no matter how small. This resonates with a lot of people. And one of those people was a friend I used to have in high school, and I am using the term friend very loosely here. They loved almost everything about the game, until the farewell update, which introduced the last level into the game. And 9 grueling hours later after you beat it, you're shown a cutscene of Madeline in her bedroom, and you can make out a trans flag near her computer. And then people lost their fucking minds. Some people, including this former friend, saw this as, quote, pulling a J.K. Rowling. Saying a character is a part of a group after the fact, even though there was little to no indication or hints in the actual base media itself that the character was a part of that group. End quote. And quoting this person directly, it honestly drops Celeste from an S tier game to a C tier game. Yeah, you can imagine this person's awesome to be around. Now, completely disregarding the obvious fact that Madeline's gender identity doesn't lessen the quality of the platforming or level design in any way, why does this worsen the experience for some? Well, some people might see this as the creator pretending to make their game more diverse to sell more copies, trying to pander to a larger audience. But Celeste is absolutely not one of these cases, because Madeline and her mental health struggles were based on Maddie Thorson, the game's lead developer. Thorson didn't know she was trans when developing the base game, but once Farewell released, she had come out. So when you make a character like Madeline who is based on the mental health struggles that you went through, and then realize the reasons you were going through said mental health struggles, it would be acceptable to say, hey, you know this character that's based on me, myself, and I? Yeah, they're trans because I am too. Because in hindsight, Madeline was always trans, we just couldn't see it. Fuck, the last level of the main game has you flying through the air with blue, pink, and white in the background. I'd be confused if Madeline wasn't trans. Also, to everyone that started hating on this game after the Farewell update, do your fucking research. The entire soundtrack of this game is done by Lena Raine, notable trans woman and creator of the Minecraft Caves and Cliffs soundtrack. That's been my go-to thing to listen to whenever I feel overwhelmed or anxious. So Mrs. Rain, I would like to thank you. And also add,
Lena! Drop another Minecraft soundtrack and my life is yours!
but yeah, that's pretty much it. I could go on and on about the negative reviews this game has, but honestly, I think I've made my point pretty clear. Is Celeste a perfect game? No. I mean, I think it's perfect, but you can find flaws in anything if you try hard enough. But other people might not even think those things are flaws at all, and they could even like the game because of the reasons you think it's bad. No one's opinion on something is perfect or objectively more true than anyone else's. But in my opinion, if everyone was just a little more aware of this fact, I think that may just make things a little bit more perfect.
Well, that was a roller coaster, huh? Oh wait, there's actually one negative review I forgot to read. It says, can't sex granny. Huh. You know, forget everything I just said. The game's terrible.